Transcendent once again, Bubba Watson, masterful at Augusta, claiming his second title at the prestigious venue in 3 years. I'm Jackson Long alongside Farzine Vasugian on another Monday of Good Morning KU.
And that's right, a lot to talk about on this edition, a jam-packed edition of Good Morning KU. Coming up on the show, former Jayhawk and current Denver Broncos cornerback Chris Harris will be on the show, as well as Hall of Fame running back Gale Sayers. We'll talk Royals struggles. Not a good weekend for the Kansas City Royals. The KU spring game also took place over the weekend. But first, the final round of the Masters. Let's take a look at it.
The final pairing on the day, 35-year-old Bubba Watson and Jordan Spieth. He's just 20 years old. Spieth said earlier he would be calling his partner Mr. Watson to poke fun at the age difference. No joke here, though, as he sticks it 2 feet from the cup on the par 3-6. He would tap in for birdie. Watson not going away. He slides in one for birdie here as well on the 6th. Matching the young gun. After 7 holes, Spieth leads the 2012 champion by 2 strokes. The competitor's conversational there, but oh how the tables can turn quickly. On 9, Watson bends one into the cup, finds the hole for birdie to put the pressure on Spieth. Spieth here with a short putt, also on 9. He will miss, and a 4-stroke lead before the turn. It's a 2-stroke lead turns into a 4-stroke flip. Watson wasn't going to give it up. There you see -8 for Watson and 6 under for Spieth. Now on the par 5 15th, Watson absolutely hammers a drive down around the corner. Bubba crushed the par 5s all weekend, totaling 8 under. An incredible stat with an eagle and not a single bogey. Watson there on the 16th. Now here on the 18th, a tap in for his second green jacket. An emotion-filled hug with his caddy, and a good moment right here. In comes his little boy Caleb to celebrate with dad. 8 under for the tournament, finishing 3 shots ahead of Spieth, who would tie for second. Still an incredible accomplishment for the man who can't drink a cold one yet. But that day belonged to Bubba.
Yeah, and that was a really good weekend overall. And the Masters, one of the more coveted moments in golf. So a big weekend for all golf fans and, of course, those who play in that profession. But we're going to move on now, talk local sports. The Kansas City Royals, not a good weekend now. Went over to Minnesota, a team that a lot of people thought the Royals could take care of. I remember seeing the first game. The Royals started off with a run, got off to an early start in the game, but that was the only run they scored, and that was pretty much a representation of what that series was going to be about. I mean, what did you see from the Royals in that series?
Yeah, and it started really bad with the pitching, and the starting pitching has been the best part for the Royals so far. But it really faltered, and Bruce Chin got lit up a little bit, and then James Shields gives up 7 runs. You don't expect that.
Yeah.
It's an anomaly for Shields. It won't happen every week for him because he's just too good of a pitcher to let that happen. But the starting pitching kind of let it down, and then the last game of the series where the Twins were able to sweep the Royals, just a bad defensive gasp, which doesn't happen to the Royals, one of the best teams in baseball. So really a poor series for Kansas City, and fortunately they get Houston, another bad team, and hopefully they can rebound coming in the next week.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. I mean, this is an opportunity to really turn the tables. What do the Royals have to do to refocus?
Well, with 9 games against the Twins and Houston leading into this road stand, you would hope the Royals were at least 6-3. So, but after dropping the first 3, you maybe look at a hopefully 5-1, 4-2 at a minimum if you want to keep this going. Because right now, a couple games 500 in last place already in the Central Division. Thankfully, though, the AL as a whole is not too far. There's a lot of parity this year, and each team has at least 3 losses, and so it's okay. The Royals will be fine. They're not in too big of a hole yet. We'll transition to the KU spring game. The blue team, the starters, with a 20-10 win over the reserves. Farzine was able to check out that action. The starters down at halftime. Weren't they going to do a little rule flip, or
yeah.
what was the case there?
Yeah, that's interesting. They actually had the blue team consist of primary starters and the white team mainly full of backups. The goal was to flip the score at halftime because it was expected that the blue team would just dominate, and Charlie Ice wanted his blue team to kind of come back from halftime because that's what KU football did all of last year, kind of try to get into the rhythm of changing that. And that kind of backfired. The white team was leading, so they decided to disregard that rule of flipping the score, something the players did not even know about. But I guess they found out during the game that they would decide not to even flip it. But in the end, the blue team able to come back and rally from behind. So the blue team kind of struggled, not very encouraging as a whole. Some bright spots there, though.
Some bright spots, including quarterback Montel Kozar, who came off a red shirt, pulled his red shirt last year, now in his sophomore season, was named the offensive most valuable player of that game, of the spring game. What did you see from him? What did Coach Weiss, more importantly, see from him in the game?
I think Weiss mentioned he's seeing a lot of growth from a guy, and that's very good when you see that from a guy who just had a kind of an iffy freshman year, didn't throw a touchdown pass, had one touchdown run, led the Jayhawks to only one conference win during his 7 games with the Jayhawks. But overall, 6 of 10 passing, some throwaways there, something Weiss touted, those throwaways, that's okay. Quarterbacks have to do that sometimes. Ran for 77 yards, including a 60-yard run, rushed for 2 touchdowns. So this is a guy who really showed off his speed, something we all knew about, but also found a way to just bust through and find some open receivers. I think this is the future for KU. He'll be a more polished quarterback throughout his sophomore season, and I think at that point, that's the quarterback of your future. By the time it's 2015, I know we're looking way too far ahead, but I think this is a guy who is going to take this football team and really make it his own.
The spring game, a nice time to finally see football. It seems like it's been forever, at least since the Super Bowl, if you're talking any football to watch. But also a time for people to come back from the program. You caught up with a former Jayhawk player at the spring game. How was that?
Yeah, that was very cool. Chris Harris from the Denver Broncos, who's reuniting with Aqib Talib, by the way, in Denver.
Yes.
So it seems like all the Jayhawks are now in Denver, 3 of them, as a matter of fact. But Chris Harris was kind enough to give us a few minutes of his time to talk about what he's been up to lately, visiting Lawrence, and also how things are going with the Denver Broncos. Check out the interview here with Chris Harris from the spring game. Any old memories right now?
Definitely a lot of old memories, just with the teammates and my old pals, and getting to see everybody, man, and showing a lot of love, and I'm just glad to be back home.
Well, what's it like during your 4 years? I mean, obviously things have kind of changed with the coaching staff and all, and a lot of new players. Have you been able to see a lot of old teammates since you've been here?
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of old teammates. Seeing Talib and them yesterday, and AC, and Mike Rivera, some of those old guys, and it's just great seeing old teammates, seeing how successful they are doing, and not just playing football, but in the business world too. So it's good to see them.
Now you're going to see Talib a lot more because you guys are now teammates. What's that like, having a friendly face and a familiar face in the locker room?
It's just that we already got that chemistry. We know how each other plays with each other, and when I give him a call, he'll be able to sound it off right back to me, and that's something that is going to be huge in the communication this year.
And you're now teammates with Peyton Manning, who joined the team a couple of years ago. What's it like being around a guy who's just had an illustrious career? I mean, how much have you been able to learn from a guy like him?
Learn how to be a leader and be a better leader, and the things that he do. He's a perfectionist, and he keeps everybody accountable, and that's something that I'm trying to do on the defensive side of the ball.
What was it like this year? I mean, having to go through a really good season and then having to miss in the end, obviously playing in the Super Bowl. What's the toughest part about not being able to play in that final game?
Just playing the whole season and having an impact like I did the whole year, and not being able to play in the biggest game of the year. So, that definitely hurt. But getting all the pieces that we got coming back, and I'm going to come back even better, and I think I'll be able to help us get back there next year.
How is the offseason going for you in terms of just recovery?
Oh, it's going great, man. I'm making great progress every day, and the Broncos have me on the schedule to be able to be ready for the season. And if at worst, if I miss 2 games or so, I still think we'll be able to pull them out. So at worst, I think I should be ready for the season, though.
Last question. Obviously, you were here for a few years in Lawrence. The Chiefs, a nearby team, you probably got a little bit familiar with them, but you're in Denver. I mean, what was that like, kind of going to a rival where a lot of people here are Chiefs fans?
Actually, man, when I come to Kansas City, man, I have my best games. I love coming to Kansas City, and even the Chiefs fans, they show me a lot of love, man. They don't talk bad about me at all when I go there, and always saying rock chalk, and it's just pretty funny. Coming into the league, I never heard a word from the Chiefs. So when I play them, that's one game now I always have marked, and I always want to play my best.
All right, there you have it. Chris Harris, currently with the Denver Broncos, played here at KU from 2007 through 2010, went undrafted, but really making a lot of noise in the league.